You're looking to expand your network, find new referral partners, or scale your business, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Partnerships for Profit. I'm your host, Ana Del Rio, and this week we're joined by Scott Alldridge, CEO of IP Services and President of ITPI, joins us to share how organizations can turn cybersecurity into a competitive advantage. Thank you so much for joining us today, Scott. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So we spoke before, the show started, and you stated that you were calling in from Oregon. You stated that the weather is starting to cool off over there, as it is here a little bit in Florida. It is what it is. It's that time of year, really. But why don't you go ahead and kind of tell everybody where what you do, your background, a little bit about yourself. We all want to hear.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me first. I mean, what you guys are doing with the podcast is great. So encourage your audience to continue to tune in and like it and do all those great things. As I've researched it, so I'm really, fortunate and honored to be a guest on your podcast today. So first, thanks to you. So I pretty well have been in technology since I was a teampreneur. When I was 19, kind of spun out of college. I'm one of those guys that finished later in life and went on to get my MBA a little later in life. But we basically started in software, and we kind of reinvented ourselves over the last, I'll date myself, about 27 years into different iterations of technology services. And so that's really a passion of mine. I've always kind of liked technology stuff, tech-related type things, maybe sometimes a little too much. But as we eventually got in, and I'll just kind of pick up in the early 2000s, we kind of spun out of some other businesses that we had into a full managed services provider where there was very little managed services providers back in the day. And then over the last, 8-9 years, we really front ourselves as a managed security services provider. So that's an MSP to a MSSP in our geek speak. But that's really where we camp. And of course, we do some traditional managed services, solutions as well. But somewhere in that mid 2000s, we got involved in some thought leadership around what are best practices in managing IT and IT security. We didn't call it cybersecurity back then. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of where I kind of cut my teeth a little bit into more of the, technology, process-driven thinking and how that really works in concert with cybersecurity. So again, in our cybersecurity practice, we, do a lot of different things around really protecting organizations and companies. A lot of our companies are kind of middle-sized companies. That tends to be where the companies that we tend to work with the most. But we released this series of books. And so the book behind me you can kind of see is my latest one that's been released earlier this year called the VisibleOps Cybersecurity book. It's part of a VisibleOps series that's sold about 350,000 copies over the last 15 years. It's been pretty wildly popular as an IT, kind of standard and best practices using a thing we call the IT infrastructure library. But my book behind me really drills down as really kind of a prescriptive method around how you can use these various layers. By one of the philosophy is one of the chapters, leadership is one of the chapters, the efficacy of IT processes is one of the chapters. Then we get into some more specific things around how you actually do cybersecurity. So that's my passion. My MBA is actually, my focus is in cybersecurity, and I hold a variety of different certifications. You kind of name it. I'm a certified Chief Information Security Officer, a CISO. That's a fairly tough one to hold, along with a lot of other security certifications as well. And I do some with AI, and actually just about to release my new VisibleOps AI book here, hopefully between now and the first of the year. So that's me in a nutshell and kind of my companies.
That's very exciting. I mean, when it comes to technology, I don't think you can geek out enough when it to be completely honest. Growing up, my dad was actually in cybersecurity as well. And mom, with computers and programming and all that, business analytics, all fun stuff. And, nerd speaks to my soul a bit.
Yeah.
If I'm being completely honest. So what's the real reason most companies fall or fail at cybersecurity, even after investing millions?
Yeah, so I think one of the most common things that organizations or companies tend to do is that they overlook some of the most basic kind of foundational, practical, kind of controls, security practices. Ultimately, we know that still 70% of all cybersecurity, breaches actually happen through the end user. So it's, the biggest risk in your company is actually that, particular employee or potential vendor or third party that is using and accessing your systems every day. And really putting down really tight controls, if you will, or the right types of tooling. And I joke a little bit in my book about a fool with the tool can still be a fool. So you really want to do it in a way, and apply the right thing. So that's probably the biggest thing, is that they overlook a little too much the user, and a lot of times it's all about the firewall or some of the deeper security pieces. And in my book, I really get into what we call a philosophy called zero trust. And it's really layers of security. It's just that simple, to keep it non-techy. You're adding layers, and it really, in zero trust methodology, it talks about 7 different pillars that are parts. One of them is, of course, your access, your employees. Another one might be micro-segmentation, and how to really segment your network to reduce your attack surface of what people can breach. And other layers of it might be around data security. So you use these layers, and so a lot of companies just don't really take a very proactive. They kind of end up with the latest tool that they got sold or told by a vendor that this is really going to help your cybersecurity. So they just buy off on that one tool, and they think that's enough. And that's probably the biggest thing, is they don't realize that you really have to have the layers of security. And a little side note, a lot of companies have been not real interested in investing because they see it as an expense, right? And where do we get value, and how do I get a return on that? And a lot of them will just say, well, we've got insurance. But last year, for example, 44% of insurance claims on cybersecurity got denied, because they're getting smart and they're starting to say, you've got to have these certain, proactive managed security services in place and these layers. And if you don't, we're not going to pay, on the claim. And so that's a fallacy, is that relying on that is another piece. So, taking it serious, looking at the end user is still your biggest threat. Having the right layers in addition to that is really important. And then you can't just rely on your cybersecurity insurance, like it's automatically going to pay out. Chance it may not. So that's some of the biggest risk. And of course, we read about in the news every day, right? I mean, threats aren't going away, and only 1 out of 7 cybersecurity threats are reported. So we're only hearing about a little bit of it, and usually that's because they're mandated. Some company that has some kind of a compliance or a compliance requirement, or they're publicly traded, or they're handling financial information or health records that they have to disclose. So for every breach we hear about, there's a ton more we don't know about. And a lot of companies think that we're small, we're obscure, who's ever going to hack us? And I can tell you, over the last 5 years, I can tell how many companies we've been brought in ex post facto afterwards to find out that they were only $1 million revenue company. There's been a couple little ones like that. They're going after everybody.
Wow. Do you feel like the smaller companies are more of a target? Like, are they sought after more because it might be quote unquote easier to get data from them versus the large
100%. Yeah, 100%. That's exactly right. They know that, a lot of your big companies have, a lot better layers of security, and they have the experts and those kinds of things. However, so no company's too small, and yes, they are becoming a big target. But one of the things, you can go on the dark web. Here's information I like to share, which you never want to go on the dark web. There's Tor browsers, a couple browsers you can use the dark web to get out there. But in a lab environment, not that long ago, doing some exploration, we got some banner ads that came up, and we looked at those, and they were franchised ransomware kits. So you could join, so you're a smart high schooler, you love to dabble in it, you're maybe, he or, a girl or a boy that just loves tech and wants to get a little nefarious. You could actually go on the dark web, and a lot of them do, because they want to hear about it, because they want to explore. They think it's innocent, but it's not. There's a lot of bad things out there on the dark web. But you can actually join a franchise, and so you pay a little fee, like $299 is the one we saw. They give you a kit of tools to go out and try to scan networks, anywhere that you're connected in the world, right? So you could be across the world and be hacking some business, because we're all connected. And you can get the kit. And then if you find a business that you can get an open port, as we call it, or open, holes, if you will, to be able to breach, and you can't really get in to install the little ransomware software with their instructions. They have schooling, they like a little video link that they'll train you with. You can escalate, and they'll bring on their franchise expert, their tech expert, and he'll work with you. And then you can split the ransomware proceeds when you're done. It's a 50-50 split.
Oh
It's
my
that
God.
sophisticated. And then when they're done ransomwareing something, you can have them call, and I kid you not, the 1-800 call center for the ransomware businesses that are experts in converting, US dollars or whatever kind of dollars are into crypto, because they all want to be paid in crypto because you can't
Yeah.
trace it. So that's the whole idea. So they've got call centers, they've got franchises, they've got escalation and training. It is that scary out there. That's how prevalent the threats, and it's only going to get worse. I mean, this year they're predicting from damage of loss and breaches about $10 trillion in 2025. It was $6.5 trillion last year, and they think it's going to be 14 trillion next year. It's only getting worse.
That is ridiculously scary, and how they have it so streamlined like that. That's very, very scary. So,
Yeah.
how can business leaders turn cybersecurity from like a reactive expense into like a proactive profit driver?
Yeah, so that's a great question.
Mhm.
And so the idea there is really revenue assurance. I mean, that's what you're getting, that people don't understand, and a lot of business leaders don't understand that, if you really get the black screen of death, if you will, you show up and they've got you locked up. Or a lot of times the threat actors are smart. They'll just exfiltrate data. They'll breach into your network. You don't even know they're there, and they're streaming your data. And so really understanding the value of your data and the value of your uptime and availability is where you really look at revenue protection. Because obviously, if your systems are down, you can't do business. You're going to lose tons and tons of revenue. So cybersecurity shouldn't be looked at as an expense or a hole that you're throwing things into money after. It really needs to be part of your ongoing, management structure, your budgeting at your board layer, so you understand you're protecting your revenue. It really, you being in a sense self-insured, making sure you're doing all the possible things you can do. And the scary thing is, not to keep talking about the bad, terrible thing, is that in the spirit of the methodology of zero trust I was talking about, that we are, spend a lot of time on, and that's really our expertise in using that methodology. The first principle is assume breach.
Mhm.
So the idea is that they're hacking everybody. We think about the MGM casino,
Mhm.
big company, corporation, all the brightest, people that they can hire that are cyber experts. They've got all the tools in the world. And yet we know about a year ago, somebody made a call to the call center, got them to change a password. They then escalated their privileges, the threat actor did, and then they ransomwared the whole network and shut them down. 27 days, I think it was, cost them right at $100 million.
My
Then just here a
God.
couple months ago, they settled with a class action suit for the data that was stolen and given out for $49 million. So one phone call cost them almost $150 million. And so if those big guys are still getting, obviously breached, then you as a
Mhm.
smaller company, you clearly are a target and can be breached. And if they want to get in, they can. So one of the first things we talk about in the assumed breach is we talk about kind of more traditional, simple IT stuff that most people think they're checking a box and they're safe with. But as we
Mhm.
consult on it and drill in, they really aren't. And that's backups. The way you do your backups really matters. And that's one of the biggest self-insurance things you can do to protect your revenue. So
Mhm.
that way, if you have proper backups, and we call it immutable backups, which means that they
Mhm.
can't be messed with, touched, they're completely separate from your network where they're
Oh, wow.
stored, because the threat actors sometimes will sit and watch. They'll exfiltrate data,
Mhm.
they'll see where you're backing up, say, oh, we're good, we do backup everything. It's checked every day by our IT guys. It's being streamed off site. So to some cloud, but they don't know, is that really encrypted? Has it really been scanned for malware and ransomware backdoors? So the
Mhm.
way you do backups, we start spending a lot of time just right there, making sure you've got truly good immutable backups. That way, if that terrible day shows up where somebody clicked on something bad and they locked up your network, you genuinely can smile in a sense, because it's still a hassle, because we have to think about what point in time do we want to recover to and how long is it going to take us to get there. But having a plan and having your data protected, that it can't be, encrypted by ransomware or breached and stolen, that becomes a really huge part. So we spend a lot of time on that, and that directly correlates to really self-insuring and protecting your business and your assets. That's the way it really becomes a revenue protector.
No kidding. You talk about an expensive phone call right there. That's huge. And forget about the dollar amount. You're talking about the times that is required to recoup and get back, on track and oh
It's
my
expensive.
goodness.
It's
No,
expensive, and
extremely.
then 40. The latest stat is about 40% of businesses that they suffer a severe breach or ransomware will either go out of business within a year after the breach. It's that bad. Or one company not too long ago, matter of fact, tell a story. It's a financial firm in California, and they have a couple hundred employees. and somebody had installed a new printer for them, one of their IT guys, and he left the administrative password, admin123. The threat actor was scanning the network, broke in through the printer. They used that port to get in that IP address.
My goodness.
Because they were able to get at the administrative, and then they would escalate themselves inside the network. And then they watched emails going back and forth between the executive teams. Then they used AI to imitate how they actually respond with the inflection to write perfect emails. And they had the CEO author an email to the CFO to actually wire transfer $187,000 to a client that wasn't a client, to a fictitious fish is really what it was. Massive blow to them. Of course, this got out their financial. They had to disclose. Other customers got nervous, all because of this password. Later, they ended up about 5 months later had to merge with another financial services firm to stay alive. Hugely devastating. So awareness, leadership, all these basic things really, really matter. The simplest things sometimes people just assume are okay, and they're not. You really need to know what your holes are in your network.
Do you come in and repair, and help to bring back, or are you preventative?
Yeah, so we're preventative. We have teams and partners that if you do get ransomware, we refer and partner and work with them. We try to protect the forensics. That's really important. So we engage there. But no, we're the proactive side. So we're doing proactive services and putting the right layers of protection. You can't always do it all. So you want to make sure you're being smart about what are the best layers to put in to protect yourself based on where each network is at or each of your systems are at. Everyone's a little bit different, but yeah, that's where we work, and it's delivered as a service, so it's ongoing. And when I say there's, you're a candy company, go make world-class, awesome candy. You're not a CyberOps organization or cybersecurity experts. Why try to be? And a lot of your IT guys are just, honestly, IT gets ignored sometimes. It's sometimes hard to find good expertise. If you do find it, it's super expensive. So maybe you have one or two guys, they get sick, they go on vacation. Are they really watching out for security? The other thing is, when we deliver our services, most of our programs are 24/7 because the threat actors don't sleep. They might be in a different time zone. They're trying to hack networks while you're sleeping. So you really need that proactive watching and defending your network all the time around the clock.
Absolutely. I agree. I mean, with AI transforming every industry, what does the future of cybersecurity leadership look like?
Yeah, I think AI is obviously it's here. It's prolific. It's taking over. One of the things I'll say about AI, just from the cyber thing, and this is part of the new book I'm working on, is that recently there was a reference to a little unofficial survey of companies that were between 300 and 500 people, and they found that about 23 different types of AI are being used on that network. And the problem with that is that the business is applauding it because the efficiency, and people are loading up financial reports and customer lists, and they're creating all kinds of cool stuff.
Oh my goodness.
But people aren't thinking about where's that data going? Is it truly secure? And who is it going to leak it out to? And plus using AI could open up threats for basically malware to come in through AI. It could be uploaded. They're doing all kinds of crazy techniques. Matter of fact, one of the latest techniques that's been going around, I've been doing this for a while, but it's circled back, they've gotten better at it, is sending a calendar invite that shows up on your calendar. If you have auto accept, that already could create a hole into your network just by, sometimes you'll see things show up on your calendar and you're like, I don't remember this. Well, it might be a nefarious calendar invite that can open up a hole into your network. But basically the point is that, when we do the cybersecurity with AI, it's of course advancing our ability to defend. A lot of the particular solutions and methodologies and tools, specific tools, are engaging AI to be more effective, more proactive. So it becomes a little bit the cat and mouse, like the malware antivirus of old. You put your antivirus, it blocks all these ones, and then they come up with new ones to get around them, the threat actors. So then you got to do your update with your antivirus, and that's a little bit the world, the cat and mouse that we're in with AI. It's being both used for good and for bad. I think the good guys are winning and will win with AI over the bad guys for some deep technical reasons I won't get into, but AI is important, and it should be part of your strategy, but also the use case, just using AI, thinking about your policy and your governance around how you're controlling the use of AI in your company. You could have backdoor holes that are being up, or data that's leaking out that you never even thought about.
It's so scary because you hear about these cases with the AI and just how people are even uploading their own personal personal like medical records and putting it out there on, to get like an understanding. I understand what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
But then now, especially after speaking with you, it's like, no, don't do that. Don't.
And there are ways to pay for AI that it does have data security policies that say that your data stays only in your bucket, if you will, and is not shared or used or referenced as data to analytics or whatever. And so you want to really research which AI you're using and do they offer that kind of, often it'll cost you a little bit, $20 or $50 a month, but it's worth the money because then you know that your stuff's being protected if they really do have a good governance policy. So you just want to be smart about it. And we all like free. So everybody tends to get the free. It's amazing what it'll do for free. And that just opens up this whole idea, almost this funnel of just starting to pump information to see what it can do in there. And, people, I know stories of people that are, putting their social securities in there to try to estimate their social security information. There's just all kinds of stuff that is being used with AI that PII, we call it personal identifiable information, and PHI, of course, the health information that HIPAA is supposed to be protecting. And those are really valuable pieces of data on the dark web. Those records go for a lot of money. Now, we've all been breached at one level or another. Certain information most of us can find on the web and the internet, but generally they don't have bank accounts and they don't have social security numbers. Or, generally they don't have those things to completely identity theft you. But on the dark web, those are very valuable assets. They can be sold for a lot of money.
I hear you. Oh my goodness. So why don't you go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you and get your services and your help?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So my author website's a really easy one because it links to the IT Process Institute that we do our research in the books on. It also links to my IP services company and tells a little bit more about what I've been involved in. And that's my name. And it's www.scottalldridge, that's SCOTT, Alldridge, ALLDRIDGE, scottalldridge.com. And you can link from there. You can also, there's a, if you want to get more information, there'll be a pop-up there with a form you can fill out, and me or my team will get back to you. A couple things I'd love to offer up, though, just to your audience. One is I have an executive companion book to my bestseller behind me. That's a 400 and some page, pretty deep dive tech book. I wrote an edition that's no geek speak, and it's more for just your, typical business person that wants to know that they've got the right cybersecurity things going on. Gives some great examples like Deloitte & Touche, study where it says, hey, you should be spending, if you're this size, this much on your IT. And if you're spending this much on your IT, you should be spending this percentage on your cybersecurity. So it has some kind of helpful guidance stuff in there. I'd like to offer, we sell on Amazon for $17.95. If you text me, and I'll give you the business text line in a second, my team will get one out to you or respond with an electronic copy, a PDF copy for you for free. But we sell for $17.95 on Amazon. I'd like to offer that up. And I'll give you, again, the number in just a second. And then the other thing is, we actually will perform what we call a penetration level 1 scan, which these cost $2,500 to $10,000. I can only do 3 of them. But if somebody reaches out and they're one of those 3, we would be happy to extend that. And it will be great information to feed back to your team or your current provider. It's more of an altruistic thing that we want to raise the tide that floats the boat. So we'll scan the network. Of course, if there are gaps and you don't have solutions, we talk to you about it. But we'll do a pen level 1 test. I'll give you a really awesome report. Matter of fact, the latest version even looks at what AI might be on your network and exposing you as well. So that's a very valuable report. Again, text this, Secure25, and we'll get you the book, a PDF copy, and we can get you signed up for a pen test. Secure25 to 541-359-1269. Say it one more time, 541-359-1269. Just Secure25, text that, and we will respond and get you taken care of.
Excellent, Scott. I love that. Okay, well, you heard it here. Thanks, guys, for watching another great episode of Partnerships for Profit. Again, I'm your host, Ana Del Rio, and keep building those relationships, people. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, share, and have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Partnerships for Profit. We hope you've gained valuable insights on how to form profitable partnerships and take your business to the next level. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Got a partnership story to share or someone you'd like to see featured on the show? Reach out to us. Until next time, keep building those partnerships for profit.